Welcome to Tech Talk with WSU Tech, where we dive into all things WSU Tech and highlight the voices within our college community. I'm Dr. Sheree Utash, and today I have the honor of having with me to chat with Jena Roth. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sheree.
So we always like to kick this off by having you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit what you do and how you serve the mission of the institution.
All right. Well, I'm Jena Roth, Dean of High School Partnerships and Community Outreach. What that really means is I get the honor every day of working with all of our different academic departments to spread the mission of WSU Tech within our high school population and a lot of the other communities that we serve. I really enjoy the work I do. We serve over 78 high schools all across Kansas, so from Liberal to Wamego, and then hopefully everywhere in between with Kansas Choose Aerospace.
So I'm going to go back in time just a little bit.
Sure.
10 years ago?
10 years
ago we hired you?
12 years ago.
12 years ago.
Yep.
Gosh, time flies.
Yeah.
And you have, and at that point in time, how many high school students did we have?
Less than 100, I believe, or we were right around 100 at that point. But we were in very few high schools, and we really hadn't started anything with our half-day academies at that point either. So
Yeah. So where are we at today?
We are tipping the point. We have about 4,700 high school students that we work with.
Yeah. And we're
pretty
in
exciting.
over 70 high schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just a little bit of work in 12 years.
It is a little bit of work, but it's been a lot of fun.
You are an innovative disruptor, and that's what I loved about you the day I met you,
Sheree.
and I still love that about you today. So I appreciate it. I mean, you really, truly are. And, you know, you're willing to step in and do really incredible, new, innovative things, which is kind of what we're here to talk about today.
I think you told me once to ask for forgiveness, and so that's the mission.
Yeah, that's
I
always
took.
been my
Yeah.
motto. Permission versus forgiveness versus permission.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this new thing that you're working on
Sure.
called Kansas Choose Aerospace.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about what it is, why it's critical for Wichita and the broader aviation industry, and even the state of Kansas.
So this is actually a project that Jim Hall really brought to me and was like, Jena, can we do this? Because I'm going to lean on you to get some of these pieces going. And so Kansas Choose Aerospace is really, we're trying to make airframe and power plant mechanics and really aviation in general touch every corner of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to keep industry here, and if we want to be able to continue to be the air capital of the world, we need to provide a pipeline for that. And so a lot of that work has been happening on that side of it. Thankfully, we received a Senate appropriation from Senator Moran, who was, I just think, a big advocate of Kansas in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we keep employers here? We got to provide them with employees to do the work. So that's been a big part of just the overall start of it. We launched initially with Wellington High School, and we'll move into Goodland here next year. They've already gone through the process of approval, so we're really excited about that. We need to hit a southwest corner, a southeast corner, and somewhere in the northwest as well, or the northeast as well.
Because the expectations from Senator Moran through this allocation is that we will expose high school students all across the state to what a career in aviation is, correct?
Correct. So part of that is they will actually have the opportunity to go through the general aviation technical certificate while they're still in high school, which would then, they can go into the workforce with that training, but it also allows them to continue with WSU Tech and get their airframe and power plant certificates completed as well. Senator Moran, with this appropriation, he really allowed us to open it up to go to a school and say, we will give you everything. Mm-hmm. You need to give us a space and an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And it's been, honestly, the schools are receiving it very well and really excited about it, and so are the communities.
Mm-hmm. So how's it being delivered?
So the curriculum itself is delivered online. We have one of our licensed airframe and power plant mechanics helping deliver the curriculum through Choose Aerospace's learning management system. Mm-hmm. And then in the high school, Don Keeley has actually spent the summer creating some really cool labs as supplementals for the curriculum. Because yes, you can get through general completely online. And so the college curriculum is there online, but in person, they get to go ahead and do labs. They get to go through and do flight simulations and things like that. Not necessary to complete the class, but really good at expanding the horizon of what a student understands aviation is. Not many students grow up around airplanes. Did you grow up around airplanes?
I did not.
I grew up around farm equipment, but not airplanes. So it was really exciting to see just the students. They were a little hesitant at first when we were talking to them out at Wellington High School, because they're like, well, I don't really know a whole lot about planes. That's okay. Most people don't.
That's kind of the point.
And we're going to teach you.
That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important because I say all the time that young people know what a teacher is, they know what a doctor is, but you think about an airplane or aerospace mechanic. People know what an automobile mechanic is, but they don't know what that is. They don't understand what those incredibly great careers in aviation can be, whether it's a mechanic or it's pilot or just name it, all through that talent pipeline of an aerospace career. That's what I love. That's why I appreciate Senator Moran believing in us to do this, to be able to spread that message, to be able to encourage people to look at that as a potential career and be exposed to all the great things of Choose Aerospace and then this initiative as well.
Yes, very much so.
So tell me, who have your partners been, your industry partners? Who's working with you on this?
One of our largest ones, and one of the reasons we went to Wellington High School first, was AAR. They're an aerospace manufacturing company out of Wellington that came to us and they said, we're willing to offer mentors and speakers to come in and work with students. And we really hope when they get done with their technical certificate, some of them will just want to take a job with us.
Yep.
So they were already diving in on that side of it to work with students. But because of that, Wellington High School hasn't had as many industry partners actively working within their technical pathways that they're at the high school. They've had more reach out. The city manager for Wellington reached out. The local airport has reached out recently after hearing about it. So we're really excited about all of those pieces too.
So they see the advantage of this is they're kind of maybe potentially growing their own workforce, correct?
Yes, very much. And keeping it local.
And keeping people local. So the fear of people leaving from those particular cities that we're talking about going into throughout the state of Kansas, one of the things that we're trying to do is encourage them to get the education, the training, the certifications, and be able to stay there.
Yes.
Correct?
Very much so. Especially with Goodland, that was one of the pieces that they're really excited about. They have a company, Butterfly Aviation, that's out there, and they were extremely excited about the opportunity to get that going in Goodland specifically. So
very good.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges that you've had in the beginning of this?
Well, I think one of the biggest pieces always, one of the hopes with Senator Moran approving this appropriation was that we would grow a pipeline. Well, that means that there wasn't one there before. Aerospace is still, despite us utilizing so many things despite aviation in general touching many parts of our lives, whether we realize it or not, people don't know much about it and they're not comfortable with it. So educating students, educating counselors, educating parents, we did a lot of work on that side. We did multiple presentations out there just with the community to the school boards to help them understand what it is, to get it going. And my hope is once it's established, we'll be able to not just tell high school students about it, but then begin to build into middle school and elementary school so that when a student comes to high school, they already know they want to be an A&P, or at least they know what it is and they want to explore it more. So that's been one of our biggest pieces. The other side is honestly, some of the schools weren't quite sure that it was truly us just giving them everything they need. It was a pretty hefty sum, $40,000 setup fee really for each school that we work with. That's being covered through the appropriation.
So you've got your first cohort in Wellington of students, and you've met with them.
Yes.
What are they thinking today versus where they were, learning about it?
Listening to them, the other day I was out there and they were talking about, it went from, I don't know anything about airplanes to, this is what I want to do next. And that's exciting to me when I think creating dreams and pathways is one of my favorite things in my job. And so when they got to the point where it's a dream realized and then a pathway found is an exciting thing.
So when we look at Kansas Choose Aerospace, this particular program, how does this differ with like Jumpstart and
That's
some
true.
of the other programs that you actually work on, you and your team work on throughout the state?
So probably the biggest thing with this one, we've never had an appropriation before of funding to help with it in this regard. So that's been big because normally we do ask the school districts to have somewhat of a part in the lift of setting up a pathway that doesn't exist before. This one is still Excel and CT eligible as well. So students, as far as their tuition, that part is covered. But we're also helping fund a lot of the back end pieces through the appropriation that normally wouldn't have been covered by WSU Tech. It's still under the umbrella of Jumpstart because they're still high school students doing a lot of that work. But that's probably the biggest difference is how the funding is being sourced to help set these up.
So talk about the long-term goals of this program, and you mentioned a couple of regional pieces that we want to do.
Yeah.
But in the grant, our intent was to
Reach at least 6 high schools across the state of Kansas in the next 3 years, in this 3-year period, to implement this program and then watch it grow. And really, thankfully, because of things like Excel and CTE, it's something that once it's established, it has the ability to perpetuate itself to the future. But to really establish those pipelines across all corners of Kansas so that we're growing an internal pipeline across the state for airframe and power plant mechanics. Then from there, like I said, we want to move into those lower levels and start to expand what that looks like. We have an aviation pathway in Kansas that's not heavily utilized by any of our districts really across the board. There are very few districts that have it. So I really want to start seeing that grow. And I think this is one of the first steps in being able to do that.
Yeah, we worked really hard to get that aviation pathway at the KSDE level.
Yes.
So important that we do expand that because it is front and center
Yes.
as a pathway now.
Yes. So this fall we're launching 1 high school. Next fall, I really want to have 3 stood up to be able to launch out into all of our different schools.
So what can people at the college do to help you with this? What help do you need? What support do you need?
If you didn't know about aviation when you were a kid, then others don't know about it either. And so it's really just talking about WSU Tech. It's promoting, we'll push more information out social media wise and all of those things too, promoting it that way. If you have connections within the industry partners that we may have in rural areas of Kansas, please reach out to them or let us know about them and help us make those connections as well. But I think the biggest thing is just continuing to talk about and promote the benefits of technical education.
So, I say all the time when I'm in front of a group of airframe and power plant mechanics students that, our healthcare students are there because they want to care for other people, right?
Yes.
I mean, they know, I want to care for people. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a surge tech. I want to be a CNA because I want to help people. And I say all the time, think about the lives that you're going to carry with the work that you do. Because everybody that flies depends on airframe and power plant mechanics to make things safe.
Yes.
So when we think about healthcare and the number of people that they help, and we think about these mechanics that are so badly needed across our state and across our nation, and how important they are to the safety and how many lives do they carry in their hands every day? Because flying, is global and it's, and we have all these airlines that have to function and they can only function. Everybody thinks they have to have pilots. They do, but they have to have the mechanics.
Yes.
How do you tell that story? How do you tell that story to a parent, to a young person that, again, has no exposure? They see airplanes in the sky. They don't know anything else.
Yeah.
Maybe they've never even been on an airplane.
So part of it that we're working with is getting them into industry partners for tours at younger ages, which is really hard for those pieces, and just letting them see it. But I always tell our healthcare people, you get to encounter people on the worst day of their life every day of your life. What an honor, but also what a weight to carry. And in the same way with our A&P and all of our students that are on the aviation side of the house, you are such a vital piece of the aerospace world and the work that they do. And so we talk through what it means. And so we'll go through and we talk about, have you been on a plane before? And you know, you get those that raise their hand, but there are a lot of people that have never been on a plane before still,
Sure.
for whatever reason. So if we try to get them to campus and let them actually tour through and get on a plane. That's not in use, obviously, to go through. And then we talk through their role and their opportunity to be the one to make sure that that's safe to fly every day, multiple times a day, really, and how vital they are to that role within aerospace. So it's a big piece of exposure and experience on that.
Noble profession.
It is a noble profession, and yeah.
And it's essential work.
Every time I get on an airplane, I am so grateful that I know that we have such a quality program. And I'm like, I sure hope those A&Ps are from Kansas. Or at least from our program.
That's great. Well, if you want to learn more or get involved in this, where do people that are listening to this Tech Talks, where do they find additional information about Kansas Choose Aerospace?
So right now, the biggest piece you can come through, you can talk to Jim Hall if you're there on campus, and then you can talk to the high school partnerships team. The advisors are all aware of that program as well. We are working to stand up some more information that's more outwardly focused, but reach out to me and I will always have time to talk to people. So.
Okay, 30-second elevator speech you give about this program. What
30-second. An opportunity to save $6,000 as you work towards your aviation, airframe, and power plant mechanic licensure. It's an opportunity to engage with industry partners, an opportunity to work through educational aspects that you would normally not be able to do while you're a high school student, and all for free at your high school. So you don't even have to leave the social environment that you're used to.
No student loan debt.
No student loan debt.
Industry credentials.
Industry credentials.
I mean, who can pass that up?
Exactly.
Who can pass that up?
Yes.
Jena, big thank you to you and your team for all the work that you do. Our students and our college are forever indebted to the work that you and your high school team do. A big thanks to you for carrying the water on this Kansas Choose Aerospace program. Also to Jim Hall, our Vice President of Aviation, and to Senator Moran for the allocation to make this work. So big thank you. So thank you for being here with me today. It was great to chat with you. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in today's episode. Watch for more to come as we continue to highlight, learn, and spotlight all the great work that's happening at WSU Tech.